Well, welcome back to the MAJO Podcast, Real, Raw, Unfiltered. I'm Derek. I got my boy Jason here with me today. We're finally getting going. Took me a few minutes to warm up, but we got it going. Today, we're talking about a question a lot of men think about, but almost always, or almost never say out loud. Do you need to get it out of your system before you commit? What makes this conversation interesting is that the three of us don't come into this with the same story. And I think that difference matters. So we've got our guy AJ back with us today. I'll let you introduce yourself for the people who ain't seen you on other episodes before, and then we'll jump in.
Yeah, what's up, man? AJ Bussey, aka Coach AJ. Man, I'm a kid from Los Angeles who just so happens to be coaching ball at Dayton, Ohio. I'm also Derek's resident LeBron fan. So if y'all ever want real facts, real sports talk, like real understanding of ball outside of being an Amari Stoudemire fan, I'm your guy. So
yeah, he was real biased and brown-colored glasses.
His is real cooked and heavily filtered.
Right, yeah, real cooked and heavily filtered. Oh man. Well, let's jump into it. So, first question off top: why do men assume there's a right amount of sexual experience?
Man, you got to go back to probably like this is like a theory that I've always had on it. Is as men, we're raised to think we got to like conquer something.
Mhm.
You know, we're raised to think, man, you got to conquer, you got to get this, you got to do this, and it's almost like a weird, I would almost compare it to like a gorilla mentality, cause like, or to a lion mentality. Cause if you see a pride of lions, typically the one male got babies by everybody in there. You know what I mean? Or some saying with the gorilla or something like that. And it's just like, we took that mentality as men and started spreading it to our sons, which is really weird, but it's like we feel like we got to conquer everything. And, the unfortunate side of it is that instead of, conquering greatness, is let's see how many bodies we can conquer, sexually. And it's just all backwards, dog.
Well, I feel like a lot of it's kind of how we're brought up. Like when we're young, we all hear from somebody older than us that, you got to have the experience. If you're really going to get with somebody and please that person or be that, be that man for somebody else, you got to know what you're doing. You can't just step into it and not have any idea what's going on. So I think with us, we believe that the more bodies we have, the more experience we get. And, people try to tell you like, oh, well, you got to learn what you like. When you can't learn what you like with just one, you got to go out there and, see, have a few things, have a few under your belt before you can really know what you like or what they like or how you can perform. Cause how can you just measure it up against one person? So a lot of that, I think, factors in just because of things that we're taught at, when we're younger from people that are older or things that somebody heard from somebody else. All the grapevine mentality.
Yeah, I'm just, man, it's so long ago from being 17, 16, 15. Trying to think back to that point. I mean, yeah, I think I had that same kind of perspective, but I was always a little bit different, I think, man, because so just for the listeners who don't know, I'll just put this out here right now so we kind of understand the differing perspectives. So my wife is the only one that I've ever been with. And so we got together at 16 and we were married at 17 and we've been married for 25 years. It'll be 26 years here in June. So I have a little bit of a different perspective on this, I think. And I think that's because like it wasn't like I didn't have the opportunity to have other experiences before I met my wife. With the opportunities that I had, man, I don't know, there was just something like always, I don't know what to call it, but there was always just something that didn't feel right moving forward. Like I remember there was one time that me and the girl were messing around and I literally was like, do you want to keep going? Or you want to stop? Like I asked her that and she was like, let's stop. And and I was like, okay, you know what I mean? And so it was just like, I don't know, man. It just always didn't, and I don't know if that comes from childhood of always kind of growing up in the church and being told like, sex before marriage is bad, and really having that ingrained, not having a dad around as a kid, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
For except for like 6 months when I was 12. I did have a stepdad, but he was like there from like 6 to or no, he was there from like 7 to 10 or something like that, somewhere around there. So it was really before I would have started talking to girls and stuff like that and really getting serious about it, and he was gone. So I don't know, maybe that it was that I didn't have really somebody pushing that on me. And then my mother, she was always like, "No, no sex before marriage," you know? Um, and then once me and my wife got together and she ended up getting pregnant, and then we got married, it just kind of, obviously I'm not gonna cheat on my wife. So
Mhm.
but there was like this weird thing that happened early on that I there was like this shame that I did have about it. Like feeling ashamed of only having one partner.
Mhm.
And it was interesting because I was actually at Southwest and was talking with some teammates and stuff like that. And a couple of them hit me with the, man, I wish I could say that,
Yeah.
which was an interesting perspective. I don't know. That came to mind. It wasn't on my question list of questions, but this is just coming
Yeah.
to my mind of like just an
Yeah.
interesting perspective. I'd never heard anybody say that before. And she's like, and they're like, man, I actually kind of envy that, man. I wish I could say that. I
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
know.
it's just
Thoughts.
it's the same thing for me, like, when say, 'cause,
Yeah.
for people that don't know, I've never drank alcohol, never smoked, never done a drug, never done any of that stuff, so, when I tell people that, when they're like, "Hey, man, what you drinking?" I'm like, "I'm some water, dog, like, I don't drink," like, "Oh, you don't drink anything, like, ever?" And I'm like, "Nah," I'm like, "I've never done." "Oh, man, I wish I," and they're always hammered when they say it.
Mhm.
Like, "I wish I could say I never drank anything," and it's like, "Yeah, cool, man, like, have another." And I don't ever look down on anybody for doing it, like, it's that's not my deal, like, it just was never for me, like, my dad that's what my dad preached to me. Like they never said anything
Mhm.
about like no sex, no any of that stuff. They never worried about any of that stuff. They were just like, my dad was always staunch on the fact like you don't need to drink to have a good time. You don't have to alter your mind
Yeah.
to have a good time. If you're going to be in control of your situation at all times, you have to have your head about you. And that was the only thing that he ever preached to me about stuff like that. And it
Mm,
was never like a no sex before marriage kind of thing or keep your virtue, like any of that shit. They didn't worry about any of that. Now, I was afraid of it when I was younger. Like as I started kind of getting into the point where I was talking to girls and having girlfriends and doing
Mhm.
stuff like that, like I was like, ugh, like I'll go so far, but then it's like, oh yeah, I'm not ready for that quite yet. So I mean, I was late to the party. Like I didn't lose. I was like I told you guys before we started. Like I was almost 19 before I lost my virginity. So
mm,
I took it like I had a steady
Yeah.
girlfriend. Like I was always like the long term girlfriend guy. I didn't girlfriend hop from one to the next. Like everybody that I got with, I thought that was going to be it, and like I tried to go as long term as I could, but I just wasn't ready until I was ready.
mm, mm,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, even with me, I was I was raised in the church, but also I was told at a very young age, if you're gonna have sex, at least use a condom. That like so to me, I felt like that was, giving me the permission to go
Yeah,
mhm,
ahead and you know what I'm
that's
saying?
it's game time,
And
baby. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, yeah, all right, cool, it's time to roll, And I'm 15 years old, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And I was 15 years old and I was literally given a 3-pack of condoms. Like,
mm,
yo, you probably gonna be doing this. At least use these if you are. And up until that point, I had never even considered that, right?
mm,
Like I had never even considered,
right.
yeah, I'm gonna have sex before marriage. Like my mind was, I'm trying to play basketball. Like I'm a 15-year-old kid. I'm a sophomore in high school. I'm like, I'm trying to play basketball.
Trying to hoop.
I'm trying to get my, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying, that's it. I was just thinking about hoop.
right.
But then once I was given this 3-pack of I'm like, hold up. You mean there's more than the basketball court in the world for me?
Mm, mm,
You're like, I can do
Right?
this and that.
Yeah. I was like, hold up, wait, I got multiple options of what I could do? You know what I'm saying? I was like, wait a minute, And so for me, like the perspective was, hey, as long as you are using protection, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But you know what I'm
mm,
saying? Like that was what I was told. And, so for me, it was like, I do, even now, my wife and I have been very open about those types of things. And you know, I've told multiple of my homeboys, man, I wish I was in that position to be like, yeah, she's been the only one. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because I think the thing about it is like it's kind of a flip, Derek, right? So like where you as maybe for guys who, they around their boys who they know have had multiple partners, and it's like, damn, I'm ashamed that I've only had one. bro, we're ashamed to be like, honestly, I can't put a number on it.
Mm,
When you hit like a certain maturity level, and I
mhm,
think that's really what it is. I hit a certain maturity level, man. And I remember just thinking, I'm actually ashamed that
mm,
I have to say it's between this number and this number. And I can't put a definite on it. Like, I'm actually ashamed of that. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? But I think for me, like I said, just my perspective is that at 15, I was given this permission to go
mhm.
ahead and explore that when my mind wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's the crazy part. Is like
that's interesting.
you weren't even on that track. Like it'd be different if they had caught you talking to some girls, or you had some girls at the house,
Oh
and they were
yeah.
like, "Oh, we want to make sure that like this is good." Like for you to even be like you were
Right.
looking way over here, and they were like, "Hey, what about this over here?" And you're like, "Oh shit! Oh, okay,
Exactly. Exactly.
let's go
I
down there." Like,
exactly. You know what I'm saying? And that was the
Mhm,
thing, is like I didn't even have a girlfriend. Like I didn't have a girlfriend. I wasn't interested in dating. I knew all of that. I knew all of that was gonna come later.
right,
Like at
mhm,
14, 15 years old, I knew all of that was gonna come later. And I said, it'll come later. I can do all that later. I'm not worried about that now. But like you said, it's like I'm looking this way and then they push my head that way. And so I said, well, hell, let me go ahead and find me a girlfriend. Maybe that's what
mhm,
I need is a girlfriend, and everything comes together,
right,
mhm,
right, right.
you know?
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, here collecting activities like Infinity Stones. Like, well, I got
No,
the
no, you know what
basketball
I'm
thing down, so what else can I do?
saying? Exactly.
That's out of curiosity, how do you think that changed, I guess, maybe the direction, the trajectory, geez, I gotta get my brain together, the trajectory of your basketball career? Do you think that affected that? Like, if you were so focused
Oh,
on
definitely.
basketball and then all of a sudden you feel like your head was turned, how do you feel like that affected that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it did. I mean, I won't say that I would have made it to the league if I wasn't focused on women. I ain't gonna say
Mm,
that, but I definitely, I definitely think I would have taken it. And I took basketball serious, but I think I would have taken it a lot more seriously. I
mhm,
think I probably would have got more out of it. Maybe I could have played at a bigger school. I don't know, but I definitely know like around that time, um, I was so focused on girls and you know what I'm saying? Just I'm like, man, yeah, I'm trying to knock them down. That's what I was thinking.
mhm,
From 15 on, that like a lot of the things that I prioritized, like sports in school, did suffer for a while. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? Even in college, you know, I so like in college, my first semester, um, I made the president's list out of 4.0 my first semester. And the beginning of my second semester, I met a couple girls, and next thing you know, I'm like, ooh, I am 1C away from academic probation. I need to
mm.
figure this out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
for
so, yeah,
sure.
like, I mean, it definitely changed a lot of things for me because I'm basically, I felt like I had to pick between, in a sense, I had to kind of pick
Mm,
between my hobbies,
mhm,
right?
Right.
Was I going to pursue the hobby of girls, of women? Right? Or am I gonna
Mhm.
be pursuing this hobby of hoop,
mm,
Right.
mm,
And for about a month in spring semester, I just pursued women. And like, I mean, I ended up, bro, I am one of the only athletes that you will ever meet. Probably the only athlete that you will ever meet that was so focused on women. I got out of shape while in season.
Dang.
yeah, that's
Like, I'm
He's
so
like,
serious. My play went down. I
mm,
mean, numbers was bad. You know what I'm saying?
he said, I
Because
mhm,
didn't
like
even pull the
I'm
Shaq
just
and come into season bad. I
oh
did
yeah,
mid season.
I ain't
I
even
pulled the Shaq mid season.
I'm mid season talking about yeah, my big toe coach, my big toe, Kobe got to do it. I'm like you know what I'm saying? But I mean that was real. That was
mm,
real, bro. I was so focused on women that like I'm not even training the way I used to train
mm,
because I'm like I went to practice. Let me go to this girl's crib real quick. Like that was
mm,
a real thing. That was a
My,
mhm.
real
man, my,
thing.
my man went from the president's list to the top of the Trojan list that quick.
So mhm.
Trojan purchase number one.
No, right?
Oh man.
The Trojan fan club,
Hey,
number 1.
listen, I'm not lying, man. And what was even more interesting is like I was so locked in my first semester of freshman year that me and my girl actually did break up. Me and the girl I was dating, we did break up because I was so locked in on
Right.
basketball.
Right.
But like I said, man, I just was like, man, you know what? Let me pursue these women. And I did. I got comfortable. I got lazy. And so yeah, it did. It definitely, that's probably the first time where I can say like my basketball trajectory really started to do this. It started to just go
Mm,
down, you
mm,
know. And
mhm,
it was a grind trying to
Mm.
climb back up.
I bet. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can see that with me and my wife when we met. I mean, I remember summer practice. We met, would have been we started seeing each other, it would have been like May of my junior year. So like right before junior year was over,
Mhm.
going into summer. I remember summer practices supposed to be at like 6 a.m. and I'd be going over there to her house instead instead of
Mhm.
going to practice.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I wasn't going into senior year. That wasn't the wisest move. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, but it be like that. It'd be like
Yes.
that. So, what assumptions do we as men make about each other based on sexual history alone?
Soft.
Yeah.
If you don't got numbers, you soft. You
Mhm,
know, one thing I'll say is like um I remember as a teenager, basically being under the assumption that I would be, let me preface this so don't nobody try to cancel me and don't nobody try to cancel the pod. There's nothing wrong with whatever orientation you choose. That is on you, and I love you no matter what you choose. But because of the way that I was raised, I'm out here thinking, man, if I'm not knocking them down, then they gonna think I'm gay, and I can't have that
mhm,
because
mm,
because I'm not, and you know what I'm saying.
mhm,
And it's like when you have that perception put on you, and you're trying to be this big tough dude or whatever, and then you just fall into that. You fall into that generational trap. You
Yeah.
fall into that trap of, and I say generational, not just as a family thing, just as a man thing.
Yeah.
Men for years and years and years, this is a trap that we fall into, that we have to be essentially a womanizer to be a man.
Yeah.
mhm.
No,
JJ?
and that's real. I mean, it's one of those things that if you don't, if you're not out there with multiple numbers on there, people do look at you
Mhm.
straight like, oh, you couldn't do that then. Nobody will talk to you. Nobody wanted to talk to you. They look at you like you're weird, like why all these things are going on. But in reality, it takes a different kind of movement, like to be like you, Derek, to have the
Mm,
one, the one and done situation. Like it takes a different type of mindset. There's a lot of differences that go into it. Growing up, because I'm older than both y'all, but by far. But and honestly, like it was a whole thing. Like it was pushed on us from the we came from the how to be a player era, from the all the
Mhm.
R&B stuff, and it's all about the as many as you can do, like all that you can do. It's all about the numbers game, and it's a whole come back on Monday and talk about your conquests over the weekend, all that kind of shit. And
mhm,
that's
Mhm.
just how it was like like it just a generational is an era type thing. Like our era was all about the numbers, all about the safety. It was still a safety thing. Like the condom deal was huge. Like everybody was talking about that part, but at the same time, like if
Right.
you did not have if you weren't using your 12 pack over the weekend, then people look at you like like if you were even if you stayed with the same one all weekend long, you'd still people would be like, "Oh, that was all you could do was the one." And it's like, no, it's not. I chose to do the one, but like,
Mhm.
but that was the thing. I mean, it was all about the numbers back then.
100%.
So, when you hear the question, should you get out of your system before you say I do? When a man asks that question, what are they actually afraid of, do you think?
What did what did Andre 3000 say? International players give up all this pussy cat that's in my lap. No looking back,
No
right?
looking back.
Mhm.
No looking back. And I think that's it, right? You
Yeah.
know, once again, it's just like I had a homeboy when he got married, right before he got married, and he was like, man, he was telling me because I asked him, I said, how did you know? Um, And he was just like, "Man, honestly," and he will be cool with me sharing this story. I know he would because he shares it a lot. But he was just like, "Man," he said, "Man, we was doing our thing," and I was just like, "You know what? This is it.
Mm,
This is it." And there's never been another for me. And I think that, you know what I'm saying, when we get to a point of, should I get it out of my system before I say I do? I think that's just really, it's like, is it a cop out of knowing, man, I'm giving up all of this that I could have for one, for forever, right? And we're so focused on the physical connection part of it. We don't even care about like what the because the one forever, that's an emotional, a spiritual, a mental connection,
Right.
as well as it is a physical. Whereas when I'm over here and I'm just like, haha, who's my freak of the week? Right? This is
mhm.
just a physical connection. I'm not thinking about anything else. But also, man, and this is like a really loaded answer. My bad, y'all. I think
No,
at the
you're
Not
same
good.
good.
time, we really don't realize that there are emotional ties on both sides,
Mhm,
right? Whether you're just trying to conquer or whether you just like, this is my one and only. There's emotional ties on both sides. But when we
Yeah.
ask ourselves the question, should I get it out of my system? I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to disconnect from some form of a mature reality that we need to
mhm,
have, right?
mhm,
So like my boy, when he's going, this is gonna be this is it. This is all I want. She's the only person I want. And then you got my dumb ass who was over here, you know what I'm saying, buying stock. I'm a Trojan shareholder, you know what I'm saying? And you got me over here acting crazy, right?
mhm,
Cause I'm running away from keeping my mind pure, and I'm not talking just like purity culture, but it's like keeping my mind focused on, I need to build myself up so that
mhm.
I deserve the woman that I'll be with forever. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
It's the comparison game, the fear of missing out,
Mhm.
well, I've had this, but what if there's something better out there? What if I'm missing out? But everybody knows, if you've ever ended a relationship thinking that there's better out there, you're just like, oh man, think about how, summertime comes and you're like, "Fuck, I want to be single, be out there with the fellas, like kicking it. I'm gonna have all
Yeah.
these ladies falling all over me." And then you end the relationship, you get out there and that bitch is dry as the Sahara. You can't find nobody to do nothing. You can't get a coffee date, let alone trying to go hook up with somebody. And so,
Mhm.
it's always the grass is always greener on the other side type shit. But at the same time, the grass is greener where you water it. Like I know we've all heard that shit in the
That's real.
past, but at the same time, honestly, like I was fortunate. Like I talk about that. Like I was late to the party losing my virginity, but I made up for it in short time. Trust and believe. Like I was out there putting the numbers up. Like I was a Hall of Famer in that category. However, by the time I had gotten with a girl before I got with my wife, and I was with her long term, then broke up with her and got with my wife and we got married. But I was out of that stage by the time, like right before I had even met, Sarah and got with her.
Mhm.
So I was able to put that time in, figure out what that was, knew what I wanted, knew what I didn't want. And she had come out of a marriage a couple of years before that, she had been married before me. So we both kind of at that point were like, well, look, we've both been through some shit. Like we've been through, she had a past, I had a past. We dabbled a little bit in the numbers game with each other and realized that we were kind of on similar planes. And I was like, well, cool. Like I don't judge you for yours, you don't judge me for mine. Like this is, we can lock in and get this done and move forward. And she was just like, we talked about it first because she was like, well, I don't want to get remarried. And I was like, well, I don't really want to get married at all. And she was
Mm,
like, okay, well, cool. Like, we'll just kick it like this then. And I was like, all right, no, like, we'll do that. And we did that for about 8 months, 9 months. And then it was funny. She was going, we were at my brother's house. She was leaving to go pick up food or something. She was going to come back. And she looked at me and said something. And she was like, I said something to her and she was like, well, real casual, like, well, like that opened the door to marriage being possible.
mm,
It was some shit like, you keep talking like that and we're going to wind up married. And I was like, well, I wouldn't hate it. And she's like, well, I wouldn't either. And then she left and she came back. And I was just like, I sat on it for a little while. And I was like, all right, cool. So then shortly after that, we'd been together for a year before we actually got married. So we got engaged shortly after that because I was just like, I mean, but it was funny because neither one of us thought about it. We both thought we were kind of resigned to one fact. And then as time grew, we just decided like, oh, well, we could do this long term. And now cut, 25 years later or 26 years together, almost 25 married. And then, here we are.
Yeah. And I have another thought on that real quick. Is like, I think a lot of dudes wonder, can I actually appreciate my wife if I haven't sampled what all is out there?
Right.
You know what I'm
Like,
saying?
how
Like
am I
they,
going? How am I going to measure up?
yeah, how am I gonna measure up? Can I appreciate the one if I haven't tried to find her yet? You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like it's kind of like that type of a thing too, where a lot of cats think, you know what, man, I gotta go and I gotta do all of this, so that I can make sure like there was this I heard a comedian talk about a joke, about or say a joke like why he loves to sleep with a bunch of women. He was like, I'm just trying to learn moves from my wife, and it's like it's like you know what I'm saying? And I'm like and I said, I remember when I heard that joke and I remember thinking, that is kind of wild, but in a way it almost makes sense.
Yeah, but not really wrong. It's wild, but not really wrong. But it's like that old Andrew Dice Clay joke. You ask the guy, he's like, "Oh, you dating this girl?" And she's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "She any good at head?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, how do you think she got that way?" Damn. It's like, well, that's a thing. Like practice makes perfect.
Oh man, bro.
Jason just hit somebody in the chest. I don't know who it is.
Hey, somebody
about to hear that. They're gonna pause the episode and make a phone call.
Baby,
never listen again. Like, not doing that.
Jason just cost y'all 20 Spotify listeners right now.
Right. Golly.
I tried to keep the joke, surface level.
Right. Nah,
Jason
went straight in.
Jason went to the soul.
Yeah.
Hey man, I guess that's what happened when you get that old. You just don't care about nobody's feelings no more.
He's at that age now. Yeah, he's at that age now.
He had that senile age.
You get 50, you don't care what's who you hurt.
Just tell him I miss my meds. That's all. I forgot my medication.
Oh my goodness. So is it really about sex then, or is it more about freedom, identity, and choice?
I think it's about identity. I think it's about identity, choice, and pride.
I think it all factors into it, to be honest. I mean, to be 100% real, I think all of it plays a small role in there somewhere. I think every piece of what you just said factors into it in one way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. And I think it's, can I be seen as a man? Can I be seen as who I need to be if I'm not doing the things that society or whoever says, whoever says that this is what a man should be doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's a real conversation. That's those real thoughts and real conversations that men probably have with themselves quite often.
But not with each other. Like we don't ever sit around as boys when we're younger and be like, man, I just want to be with one forever.
Right.
They look at you like, what?
Yes. Yes. But it's like, why can't we as men have that? I think that brings up a question. Why can't we as men be comfortable enough to have? I'm sick of. I got sick of having conversations with my guys saying, "Man, this is so dumb. Why do I keep doing this?" You know what I'm saying? Like how many guys go through failed relationships because of that? You know what I mean? Like I got a list of failed relationships. Because of that. And it's like I can't be comfortable enough. We can't be comfortable enough. And man, shout out to all of the dudes who were like, you're like, Derek, you already got my respect, man. But Joe, my respect for you just went up. Like knowing like that's the one and only. Like that's real man business. Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially to be like, well, I ain't gonna ever cheat on my wife. Like, that's real man business. That's understanding when you have something special, when you want to grow something special. But it's like, why we feel like we got to get it all out our system before we can cultivate something special.
Right.
I mean, I can't say that I mean, it's obviously been difficult, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially playing college ball and being around athletes and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
mean, it hasn't been easy, and I think that's where a lot of I mean, what you're talking about too is where a lot of shame and stuff came in at, because it was that kind of perspective of, you know, uh, I mean, well, kind of going back to the conversations that we had with Peace, right? Performance based,
Yeah.
where it's about performance, and so if you haven't been with multiple people, how do you really know that
Mhm.
what you're doing? How do you know that you just picked one and settled because you couldn't go out and find more? And then there was that period. I mean, a period of time where it was like, I mean, right, like the identity piece, right? Like only being with one person and that being the identity, but that being shamed. And so it
Mhm.
was like this internal battle
Mhm.
of, am I making the right choice? Like I'm happy with my wife. Like I'm happy. I'm made a covenant with God, and I think that got me through my 20s as my covenant with God. To death do us part. I don't know. There's just something
Yeah.
about that just, when I said those words with my wife, like I meant those words. And
Right.
we've been through some crap, and I think that we've been close to calling it quits before, but it's always been like just coming back to that. Like I want to make this thing last. Like, I want this
Mhm.
relationship to be my one and only relationship. But anyway, so like this internal battle that I didn't really share with anybody. I don't think I've talked about it much with anybody, but there's internal, like, this shame of like, man, am I making the right choice of only being with one person? Am I really, like, is she telling me the truth about this, about sex and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
that I know that I'm pleasing her. Uh, should I end this and do something else, and go, see if there is somebody else out there, or see what it's like out there. You know what I mean? Like all these internal questions going around, and so I mean that's a struggle.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's hard, especially in your 20s when you got your hormones are still raging, you're an athlete, and so your testosterone up and all that stuff like that. And
Mhm.
again, thankfully, and again, I think God has kept me in that. Thankfully, I didn't ever act out on any of that, um, and did stay faithful. But it was difficult, and it was wrapped up in identity and freedom and choice.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and this idea
Mhm.
that it's free, like you have freedom to go, like just in this conversation now, like this idea that it's freedom to go and conquer all these different women, but yet it feels like such an enslavement,
Yep.
like because that's what your mind is focused on.
Well, because
Mhm.
at a point when it becomes societal driven, it's not freedom. It's you're being pushed to do so. You're being coerced to do something because a certain group of people think you should do that. Should do that.
Right.
So there
Right.
is no freedom in that. There is
Right.
Yeah.
coercion to do that. So I mean, the enslavement's a real thing. Like you feel the pressure, so you're giving into the pressure to do the societal thing instead of going against the grain and holding your pack like you did. Like people don't realize it takes far more strength to do what you did than it is to go out there and knock down, however many people you did. Like, and my thing is just like, we talk about it. Like, I don't carry a lot of shame about about my actions before I got with my wife because it's part of what made me who I am. I didn't do anything wrong to anybody in any way, shape, or form. Like everything was done, consensually. Everything was done above board. Like it was not anything like that. So, and it didn't affect any of the relationships I was having at the time because I wasn't having any relationships at the time. Like I was kind of in between doing. Once I got with somebody that, of course, that stopped, and then I got, broke up with that person, and so, gained back on again. But I, I mean, I look at it like I feel like me from my personal perspective, doing my actions before I got with my wife is what has allowed me to carry on this the conversation or the conversations that we have had about the strength of the relationship that we have and been able to build over the years because I know what's out there and I'm not
Mhm.
worried about what's out there because I know what I have and what I
Mhm.
have is not worth anything else that may be out there. Like what I
Mhm.
have is enough for me to lock in, stay true, and stay locked in because I know that having been through what I've been through, like I know what's on the other side waiting for me, and I know what I have waiting for me here. So I'm not, there's nothing worth breaking free from what I have now to go chase any of that.
Mhm. Mhm. There's a wise man named DMX, and he said, and this saying, funny enough, but it actually did like resonate with me. He has a song and he says, "Even though that pussy tight, I'm not gonna jeopardize my life."
Yeah.
Right? And he was talking about his
Yes.
wife, right? He was
Mhm.
talking about his wife and leaving his wife for another girl. And like, as funny as that is, like that really was like something that resonated with me,
Yeah.
of where there would like be these, thoughts or these temptations or whatever like that. Cause again, there's
Right.
temptation, right? But it was like that saying like really resonated to where like I'm not gonna mess up my life. Like I got my wife, I'm not gonna mess up my life
Yep.
and everything we got going on. I don't care how cute you might be or how,
Nah, for real.
good your stuff may be, but I'm not messing up my life, you know.
Yeah.
AJ, looked like
Facts.
you had a thought. What was your thought?
No, man, I mean, I really think that's just it, right? Is like, uh, we gotta, it's there also has to come a point, I think, even as a single man, where you gotta understand that that can and will mess up your life. You know what
Mhm,
I'm saying? That type of thing can and will mess up your life. I talked earlier about, man, I was out of shape in season, because I'm messing with these girls. And, we have to come to an understanding as men that like our first job, one of our first jobs, duties, whatever you want to call it, maybe one of your first habits is like by nature, we're providers and protectors,
mhm,
right? So it's like, how about we try to, I think understanding that, like I can't mess up my life over some draws, really. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? Like,
mhm,
let me provide security, let me provide support. You know what I'm saying? Instead of trying to provide some dick. Like, what are we
mhm,
really doing here? You know what I mean?
mhm,
Like, that's just really what it boils down to. And I think, for me, and it took, it took a while for me to really mature and understand that,
Yeah.
you know, that this isn't the only thing that I have to give or anything like that. Like, I actually have to provide a security and a safe space. And it's gonna go way deeper than that. Because you know what I'm saying? I mean, we all got kids here, and so we can all understand. Like, and I think having this mindset, before I got married, not the let me get it all out of my system mindset, but just having the coming into the mindset of, man, I need to provide security and safety, and support, and just be in a safe space. We all know after kids, that's your number one thing is to provide those things for your wife after she
mhm,
gives birth. Postpartum is real. For anybody who don't know,
mhm,
postpartum is real,
mhm,
Yeah.
right? And yo, let's be honest. The last thing your wife is thinking about is some sex after having a
Absolute
baby.
last thing.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
mhm, mhm,
And it's like that is when you understand the emotional and the mental and the spiritual connection that you have with your wife.
Right.
mhm,
At that point in time, and it's like, man, that I think the narrative needs to shift of, yeah, like, no, let's not get it out of my system. Let me get it into my mind that I have to provide these types of things. And you really, because all you doing is messing your life up if you just trying to go out and get it all out your system. Because what's gonna mess around and happen is you're gonna get it in your, so you're gonna get something in your system that you can't get rid of.
mhm. Especially
Well, that's the thing,
nowadays.
You
like
know
you
what I mean?
mentioned, like you talk about being a provider and protector, and sometimes we have to be that for ourselves. We have to provide
Yeah.
for ourselves and protect ourselves. We have to provide ourselves with a better situation, and we have to protect ourselves from
Hmm.
those things that may lead us to something that's not going to serve us well in the future.
Right.
Which, like you said, could be disease, could be a lot of things, could be, dang,
Hmm.
in your, both of y'all's position, y'all were athletes, student athletes, and there's lots of bad things that can happen there. Like there's so many
Oh yeah.
people, so many women, turn around, have buyer's remorse, and then call foul on something that didn't really happen, and
Mhm,
then there you are, your whole shit's ruined. And they, 6 months, year, 2 years later, they're, oh, I made it up, and it's like, oh well, cool, thanks, my life's run now. The
Mhm.
apology's
Mhm.
never as loud as the accusation.
Right,
And
right.
sometimes those things really do happen. That not victim blaming at all, but I'm just saying, like, these situations are out there and can happen. And if you do not
Yeah,
provide for yourself and protect yourself, like, the provider and protector thing
yeah,
goes to not only your family and outside people, it goes to yourself as well.
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, that's what happened to me, when I was a junior in college. Into my junior season, um, you know, the girl that I was dating at the time, we had been dating for a few months, so I'm living in an on-campus apartment. She came over, things started to head that way, and I asked that question, "Do you really wanna do this?" She said, "No." "Alright, cool." You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it, right? But once again, we over here, get it all, conquer and do all this other stuff, and that was the thing, is there was buyer's remorse there, right?
Mm.
I ended up having to transfer.
Oh,
I
wow.
ended up having to transfer schools because it was either you see, a lot of people thought I left for one reason, but it was really, "Hey, you need to leave, or this is what it's coming down to."
Wow.
And that's part of the reason why, Derek, when you hit me with the subject, I was like, man, I got a lot of thoughts on that topic. Like, that's part of the reason. It's like, man, in the athlete, in a position as a student athlete, you have to understand that there's always going to be a target on your back. You know what I'm saying? In a
Mhm.
sense. And I went to a very small school. Like, well, nobody finna make it to the league. From where I
Right,
played. Like,
right,
we wouldn't even get into the G League. You know what I mean?
right.
But you know, some people will see that as, like you said, buyer's remorse. Some people might see that as a meal ticket, and then they flip that switch,
Yeah.
right? They flip that switch, and then the narrative shifts, and it's like, you're right, Jason. We got to provide and protect for ourselves as well. And one of the
Absolutely.
ways that you do that is, dog, just keep it in your pants, because it really ain't worth it. It really ain't worth it.
Mhm. Well, let's
Yeah.
talk about that. You mentioned narrative earlier, AJ, and we'll kind of maybe break down that narrative a little bit of like
hmm
where do we learn that commitment equals loss? Like where does
Well, I
that
think
narrative
it's
come from?
yeah. I think it's when I decide to commit and only choose one thing, that means I'm holding on to it. I have this illustration, being a student pastor. I know somebody's probably heard that and went, "Oh, he said Dick, he's a student pastor?" Yes, I am. Uh, but having being a student pastor, I have this illustration with my students, and I think it's kind of the reverse of the illustration now. Where I say, like, God can't put anything in your hand if you're holding on to stuff like this. So we have to live in a way where He can take out what He needs to take out and replace it. But I think it's the opposite with us. When we decide to commit, I'm holding on. So I committed to my wife. I'm holding on to her with everything that I got, and I'm afraid I'm not gonna have room for all the other good things in my life that comes,
Mm,
because I'm holding on to one thing. And what I don't realize, and I realized this about a year and a half, 2 years into my marriage, every good thing that is happening to me now is a direct reflection of the commitment I have to my wife.
mhm, mhm,
Me saying this is what I want to focus on building, me saying this is what I want to continually do. This is me saying I'm only locked in here. Every blessing that's in my life is a direct reflection of how I love her and how I
mhm,
treat her and how I provide and all that. But we're afraid. Jason mentioned FOMO earlier. We're afraid of that fear of missing out if we stop trying to grab everything and just grab one thing.
mm. Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah, if my hands are closed, I can't receive all the things that are coming to me that will
hmm
land in my hands if my hands are connected to holding on to one person. I can't
Right.
Mhm,
receive I can't receive the outside blessings that I feel like may possibly come my way,
hmm
when knowing damn good well, like, if you're focused on one, you're not missing anything, because you're in there focused. You're watering your own yard, so you're not worried about how green the other
Exactly.
yard is.
mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wasn't able to see that early on, but now that I'm older, I do see that. Like the where I'm at in life, to where what I've been able to accomplish, having, 5 kids by one woman and, obviously we have 7, the 2 are adopted, the youngest are adopted or, but still having all that and the drama that I see people go through with their baby moms or their baby dads and all that stuff. Again, not knocking if you got a baby mom or dad. It just seems really freaking hard and
It's exhausting.
dramatic.
Yep.
Yeah, it
It
is.
seems exhausting. And so, and then the life we've been able to build and everything like that. And so, having again, having my kids around
Mhm.
24/7 growing up, you know what I'm saying? Get to see all parts of their childhood, not just a little bit of it, you know. Um, Going through my master's program, there was a point that I got in my master's program where I was like, man, so in Oklahoma, you can get 48 credits and you can be an LMFT, or you can get 60 credits and be an LPC. Well, once you get licensed, either way, you do the same thing. It doesn't matter. And so there was a point where I was like, man, I hit that 48th credit. And I was like, bro, I think I'm done. And she's like, nope,
Mhm.
you're going to stay
Keep it moving.
and you're going to keep doing it. You're going to finish it out. You know what I'm saying? And bro, like I was seriously thinking about quitting.
Yeah.
Actually, Sarah was another one that she got on to me about that too. She probably don't remember. She's like, no, you're
Oh,
going
she
to finish.
remembers. I guarantee you she remembers because she would be a
um,
lifetime student forever until she passes. She would die in class if I would let if things would go the way she wanted. If she could get paid to be a professional student, she'd still be there right now.
right. Yeah. But I mean, it was my wife that was like, no, you're going to finish it. You know what I mean? So, uh, I just see because of that commitment. And I think it was early on, as that feeling of that commitment, there was that feeling of loss,
Mhm.
which,
Mhm.
comes into like the idea of like, how does our culture and, porn and peer stories and all that fuel that tension for us?
A lot.
Mhm.
Because I know for me, that
Yeah.
was the primary fuel was the peer stories. And I've never been a porn guy, just never really have found
Mhm.
porn to be enticing to me. But like the culture, hip hop, and then peer stories, man, it fueled the tension heavily for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember being in high school and I'm hearing my teammates on a Monday morning talk about the wild weekends they had,
Mhm.
and we in homeroom, we in our first hour, and I can hear them talking about the wild weekends they had, and me with that peer, being get number one, being given a pack of condoms at 15. But then
Mhm,
number two, hearing teammates, hearing friends talk about stuff. I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. Like this might be the direction I need to go in my life. I mean, it's like we feel like we need that acceptance too.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
Peer pressure is crazy. We feel like we need that acceptance. And if we don't get that acceptance, then, something's wrong or something like that, you know. And it just goes back to like confidence in ourselves as well.
mhm.
Yeah. Well, it's like being in a circle of your friends and not being the only one without a story to tell. Like that
Yeah.
shit,
Oh
the
yeah.
pressure of that and not having any kind of story to tell, like you'll make some shit up just to have something to talk about. Because you don't want
Yep.
to be the only one to be like, oh man, what about you? Be like, oh
Yep.
man, it's dry weekend. And you be like, oh man, like this dude here. And then you got to hear all that shit. But honestly though, it you know, as you're older, like we have all talked about, like the older we get, the more we realize like we wouldn't really miss out on it. But it's hard to tell young people that. Like it's hard to tell somebody who
Mhm.
hadn't experienced all the things that they're not missing out on anything because they're not going to
Mhm,
see it that way.
Mhm.
mhm,
So, it's hard, but at the same time, like you can, you can't live for somebody else. Like somebody else is gonna have to figure out their own path. Like it's gonna have to be their thing. But because clearly as what worked for me didn't work for you, what didn't work for you worked for somebody else. Like it's even all three of us on the screen had different paths, so it
mhm.
just depends on how that person's going to view what they feel like they need to do. But hopefully somebody will get a hold of this and hear it and think that maybe it's not such a bad thing to take that road that you took, Derek, and find somebody that they want to be with forever and just make it that. Because I mean honestly,
Absolutely.
there's absolutely no shame in doing that. Like there's no, we're not here to shame anybody for any way that they choose to live their life or the path that they choose to go on. And it, it's at the end of the day, love who you love and do what you do. But there is no shame in just having one and making that, making the commitment to the one and making it work.
Yeah.
Right.
So, speaking with the commitment and being married, I guess I want to kind of normalize something for a moment. It was an idea that came up about curiosity. And does curiosity automatically mean dissatisfaction?
No.
And I think there are people that think yes, right? I think
There's lots of people that think, yeah.
and
Like,
they're
why are
shamed.
you,
Yeah.
if you're happy, why are you even thinking about it?
Right,
Right.
right, right. And they're saying that for, people that for guys that maybe do feel curious about something or have some curiosity about something that it's like, "Oh my god, I did something wrong by even being curious." And I just kinda want to take a moment to normalize of like, that's human.
Yeah.
Like being
Right.
curious, being, finding somebody else attractive or just wondering, having wonders about things. Um, it's all normal human experience. Um, and I kind of, I don't know how you all do in your relationship, but one thing that my wife and I have always done, and I think it's been pretty beneficial, is like we don't mind if the other person says somebody's attractive. And I know there's couples that I've ran into that
Yeah.
they get mad if if the other one finds somebody else attractive, or they get jealous if they find him attractive or something like that. And it's like for my wife and I, we've always had that, oh, she cute. Oh, he's handsome. He's fine. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Tyrese and Michael Jordan, boy, those were her two when we were younger, and
Yeah.
Alicia Keys has always been mine, you know what I mean? So, but like trying to normalize some of that, of like allow yourselves to be human. I think that also makes commitment difficult. Now that I'm thinking
Yeah.
about this, right? If there's a
Yeah.
lot of constraints on just being
Yeah.
human, it's going to make it even harder to commit and realize that commitment doesn't equal loss. But if I'm having to
Yeah.
hold in all this normal human behavior and insight and thoughts and feelings, if I have to hold all that in, man, that commitment is going to feel like a freaking loss.
Yeah, it's gonna feel like a
Yeah.
prison if I can't be myself. If I can't just be my
Mhm.
true, genuine self and look at somebody and be like, "Dang," like, yeah, just talk about something. No, you don't have to like lust and like fawn over somebody. Like, if I'm trying to be like,
Right.
"Hey," if I tell my wife to hold on a minute while I go get her number, that's different. Like, but if
Right.
I'm just like, "Damn, her outfit's cute," like, it is. If that turns into a problem, like, there's a bigger problem to be had. But
Mhm.
that kind of stuff to me, like, if you can't, like, I used to get, so when my wife and I got together, like, she had a routine of going out to the bar, like Thursday nights was like the big going to the bar night. So for the longest time, she was like, "You can come," and I was like, "Eh, I don't know if I can." Since I didn't drink, I'd never been to a bar, club, any of that. I was just like, "I
Mhm.
don't go there. There's no reason for me to go there because I don't drink." She's like, "You just come and hang out." I was like, "That's stupid." So I didn't go for a while, but then I did, and I'm like, hold up. Cause it's like they're out there hanging out and there's people like approaching her and trying to talk to her. And I'm like, okay, listen. So I used to have the worst temper of anybody you know. I bail out of a car on somebody in a minute trying to fight. Like, I'm fighting everybody. And so I'm ready to tear this whole bar apart. This dude's trying to talk to her. And I walked up thinking that I'm like parting the Red Sea in the car like the whole dance while I'm like pushing people out of the way to get to her. And by the time I walked up on her, she's making this dude feel like tiny, like super tiny small. Like
Mhm.
she berated this dude. It didn't. She never raised her voice, but she just was talking to him like literally like, "Are you lost? Did you misplace where you were supposed to be? Did you like I don't know what you thought this was going to turn out to be like, but why are you
Mhm.
talking to me?" All this kind of like she was just letting him have it, and I was like, "Oh, well, that's weird. So I don't have to do anything. Okay, got it. Cool." And I like went
Yeah.
back like this, like so me and my wife. I've had the hardest time with, and that's probably why I've stayed with her for so long because she's like a fucking Rubik's cube. I can't figure out. Um, like she was the first person to ever teach me that she doesn't need me, she
Mm.
wants me, and that's
Mm.
different. And I'm like, well, I don't fucking like that. And she's like, well, too bad. Like, cause I'm never gonna need a man for shit. And I'm
Mm.
like, well,
Mm.
I'm used to being needed, and if you don't need me, then what the hell am I here for? It's just because I want you here. She's like, it's way better to be wanted than needed because if I need you, once your need is over, you can get the fuck
Mm.
on, you can go on somewhere. Like, I don't need you here. But if I want you to stay here, then we're together until I don't want you anymore. And as long as you keep me wanting you, then we're good. And I'm like, well, I don't understand this shit, but whatever. So, so her not, her wanting me and not needing me, and her not needing me to even
Mm.
be at the bar and tell other dudes to get the hell off of her. Like, it was just such a weird dynamic for me because I'm like, I'm not having that shit. She was like, well, I'm not having that shit either. So I don't need you to not have it because I got it. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. But that was that kind of shit for me. So it just it was wild to me in that way. Like I thought I had to be something that I didn't have to be. And so that's kind of what allowed me to view this in a completely different mindset and a completely different situation. So that's why I kind of knew that I didn't have to worry about what else was out there missing. Because, like I had said before, like I've been through all that stuff, and this was something completely new and different. Somebody for once that didn't need me for something, that actually wanted me to be around.
What's your
Okay,
thought,
yeah.
AJ? 'Cause I
It's funny. It's funny. So, like, at one point you was talking, Derek, just about like normalizing curiosity,
Mhm,
and then you talked about like couples being able to just comfortably be like, oh yeah, that's attractive, whatever. Bro, it made me think, number one, it just made me think about this time me and my wife, we went to go see this movie. It was a Michael B. Jordan movie. Y'all already know where this shit is going.
mhm.
So, we in the movie, I got my arm around my wife. And Michael B. Jordan, he come out all chest naked. You know what I'm saying? Like he
Of
doing
course he
every
does.
movie.
Uh-huh,
Some kind of for whatever reason, he got to come
uh-huh.
out with no shirt on.
Right.
I'm sitting there, arm around her. We are very serious at this point, and she goes, "Mm." In the theater right now. Now,
I swear it's in his contract that he don't wear a fucking shirt.
like
Right,
he put it in
right,
every movie. I'm like, how does he got to take his shirt off at every movie, bro? Okay,
mhm,
listen, bro. We
right,
know you got muscles on top of your muscles, like, bro. We done
right,
all seen Creed, like we
right,
know.
yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And so, so my wife, she said, and I was like,
Oh
okay,
yeah,
but
word.
but I'm in the crib. I'm like, yeah, I do these push-ups. Let me,
Uh-huh,
you
uh-huh,
know.
mhm,
But it's like for me, and I remember though, I had a story very similar to Jason pop up where, where I'm out of I was living out of state for, a good portion of the first year of our relationship. And I remember um we were on the phone and I remember this dude was like trying to talk to her while we were on the phone, like she was like shopping or something. And we're on the phone and this dude tried to talk to her and I hear him talking. And I'm
Oh,
sitting there and I just got real quiet. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm
mhm,
ready to go. Well, what the? You know what I'm saying? I'm ready.
mhm.
I'm ready to fire off.
set it off.
And keep in mind, like I'm up here. Nah, keep him at the store. I know I'm 12 hours away, but I'm on the way right
I'm
now.
on the
You
way.
know,
Keep him there.
I'll be
I'll
there.
see you
you
tomorrow.
know what I'm saying? I see y'all first thing in the morning.
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like I'm ready to start firing off and I can hear
Right.
her on the phone and she was just like, I actually have, and we're engaged at that time. She was like, I have a fiance, like we're not. She said, I don't do that at all. And he's pressing the issue
Sure.
and stuff like that. And she was just like, no, I'm okay, and walks off. And he had said something else, and I kid you not. He had said something else, and she turned and like I could hear her like turn around on the phone and go, I mean, honestly, he would probably beat your ass. So you probably don't want to do that. And it just like keeps going. And I was like, I remember when she said that, I was like, hello, girl. Do you want to
Uh-huh.
do you want a child?
Do you
You
want a
know,
child? I'll give you my seed right now.
I get
Right.
you
Give me 12
right
hours.
now, baby. Give me 12 hours. I'm on the way. But I remember, man, I remember that. And I remember thinking, like, man, and it was kind of a similar situation where I was just like, wow, like she genuinely wants who I am. She wants who I am. And that's something that I have to value. And that's something that and like I said, we're engaged. Like I'm committed to this. I've showed you what my commitment is already. But it's like she wants who I am. And I think too, even on the flip side of what Jason said, I think sometimes a want turns into a need in a sense. You know what I mean? It's like
Mhm,
I want you here, and it's because I want you here that it's necessary for you to be a part of my daily routine, a part of my daily rhythm, a part of my daily life. You know what I
mhm,
mean? So it's
mhm,
like I do because it's like the need. If she just needs me, if I just need something and once I don't need it, I'm done. Like, I need this water. Once I'm done needing this water bottle, I'm going to toss it. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
But it's like when I want something and I'm constantly chasing it because I want it, I'm constantly working at it because I want it, then maybe need isn't necessarily the right word, but it becomes a necessity to me.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? It becomes a
Mhm.
necessity to who I am
Yeah,
because it becomes an essential part of me. You know,
absolutely.
and that was a lesson even then that I had learned with my wife. You know, was like, damn, like yeah, she wants me here, and it's like it's a necessity. We're essential for each other.
No,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have a different perspective on the "I want you, I don't need you" comment. I think that to me has always signified somebody that has an attachment wound, to say that
Man.
I don't need somebody else. And not that's a
Mm.
therapist part speaking at this point, right? But like, cause I've sat with
Get on
couples
get on
that
the couch. Get on the
I've
couch,
sat
Jason.
right, right. I'm trying to get him on the
Right.
couch. He won't get on the couch. Oh no, I'm just playing. But I think that I've sat with a lot of couples that when when one of the partners says that to the other, you just see the other person's face, and it's just
Mm,
like, oh, and it's like this.
mm,
Like you should be happy that I want you. I don't need you, and it's like that's why. What's wrong with needing somebody? Like I'll be open with him. Like I need my wife. Like I would not be able to do everything out. Like this podcast right now, I need my wife to
mhm,
hold down the house while I do this. It has nothing to do with one. I need her. I need my wife
mhm.
to be there in those moments where I don't believe in myself and she lifts me up. You know what I'm saying? So
Well,
like,
and
I
her
feel that.
her her need is her need and what is a little different. Like
mhm,
her view on that is emotionally, yes, she needs the emotional connection.
mhm,
She needs the things. But her like if I left today in
mhm,
our current situation, she
mhm.
could
I feel
sustain
that.
her life perfectly fine
So there's
with
a
me
difference.
not
That's
being
where
here. Right.
that's where I was going with it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think people they discount all of it when they say that. Not saying that Sarah
Yeah.
did, but when
Right.
I've heard people say it, I
Oh
want you, I
yeah.
don't need you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's this
Definitely.
way that I don't need you for anything
Oh yeah, no, no.
is
Mhm,
what's communicated in that moment.
No,
Right.
because
And
I'll say
it's
because I say dumb shit to her all the time. Because I was like, when Jordan turned 18, I was like, "Oh, you better straighten up because I can leave you for free now. So it don't cost me shit to walk off now."
mhm.
And
Right.
she
Right.
and she was like, "Go ahead." She's like, "You think I can't live my life without you here? Like, yeah, you can have a ball, brother. Like, I got this."
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
that's her
Yeah.
thing. Like, because in her life, there have been things that have made her realize she needed to be self sufficient at all times.
You can say
So that,
abandonment. We caught that. We
I mean,
caught that. That's
yeah.
yeah. It's abandonment.
The same thing I almost tried to say the other day. I wouldn't let earlier that I wouldn't let her continue school. I was like, I can't say that at all because there's not a letting shit.
Right.
But no, honestly, I mean, there's been things that have happened to her in her life that made her
Mhm,
realize she has to set herself up where she can
Mhm.
always be self sufficient,
mhm,
and I get
Mhm.
that. And it's
Mhm.
not
mhm.
that I had a Captain Save a Ho complex. I was out there trying to save them all, like Pokemon. Got to catch them all. Got to do it. Got let me help you. And
Mhm.
sadly, I passed it on to my son. But it is what it is. But
He
I
got it
mean, it's
bad too.
ah,
He
I'll talk
doubled down
about
with
it.
that.
Ooh,
Of
Yeah.
all the
boy,
stuff that you could have given him, you had to
boy.
give him 2 doses of
My
that.
man, my man rolls around with that Sarah McLachlan ready to play. In the arms of the angels. He's ready, boy. For just 10 cents a
Oh.
day, you too can save this wayward. No, but but honestly though, I mean, it just get and that's more of what it was. I mean, and it
Yeah.
was her, her upbringing, things like that, that made her say that kind of shit. But
Mhm.
she did talk about it that way when we first got together. She's like, it
Right.
is not about you. I don't need you to make anything fly. Like my life is going to be my life regardless. Like
Mhm.
if you want to be here, we can do this. Like let's do this. But at the same time, don't ever mistake the fact that think that I can't
Yeah.
do this shit without you. And I get that now, but it's because I'm almost 50 years old. When I was 25, nah, I didn't get that shit at all. I did not
Yeah.
understand. I didn't want to understand it. I was like, nah, fuck that. You're gonna need me. And she was like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And she's like, get
Yeah.
it. Yeah, we'll see how that works out.
Right,
And
like, so you talk about I think and even like that the idea of dependence, right? Like, I think
yeah,
that gets a bad connotation of, like, it's okay to depend on
Mhm.
somebody else.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
for
think there's
sure.
an unhealthy level of dependence, an unhealthy level of trying to make somebody need you,
oh,
and
absolutely,
and and all I'm trying to do is maybe before we get back to conversation is kind of delineate the two of like it's okay to
Yeah.
need somebody and it's okay to be dependent on somebody.
sure,
That's okay. If your
Oh,
entire
yeah.
existence though, your entire
Right.
personhood depends on this person or
Mhm.
needs this person, at that point is where it becomes something you may want to look into.
100%.
But I absolutely, as a couples therapist and as somebody who's been married for so long, advocate like it's
100%.
okay to need somebody else. And if there's a fear of needing, again, get on the couch and work
Yeah.
that out and figure out what
Yeah.
that is, right?
If your whole
Yeah.
personality is a joint Facebook account, like that's a problem. That's a whole
Exactly.
that's a whole problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to be able to
So,
do some solo shit. Otherwise,
yes.
it's a whole problem.
Yes.
Right.
But the dependency
Yeah.
thing comes like if you anybody that's been in a family that has multiple kids, you depend on your partner to be able to take, Susie to dance class while you take, Bobby to
Mhm.
soccer. Like it's the thing.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
you can't be everywhere at one time, and anybody that
Right.
thinks they can is
Yeah.
ridiculous. So
Right.
Yeah.
the relying on each other and depending on each other in certain circumstances, there's nothing wrong with that. But being
Right.
codependent, like you can't breathe unless the other person, you can't go to the bathroom
Mm.
unless the other person's there to help you wipe. Like that's a problem.
Like, do you think that maybe, there's a correlation between fear of dependency and wanting to get it all out your system maybe before you get married? Like, could there be a connection, a connection piece even there? Because it's like, man, if I don't get all of this out, I just have to depend on one single person. I have to focus on, like I mean, even then, like while y'all were talking, especially while you were talking, Derek, I'm like, man, that thought like arose in my mind. Like, is there, do you think maybe there could be a connection between, maybe fear of needing someone, fear of that connection with someone, and just the question of getting it all out before I'm married?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think so. I mean, again, I think for me myself, there was a fear of what if there, again, being with one person, what if there is somebody else out there? What if
Yeah.
there is? There's a fear, like that was a fear-based driver. And again, I think it was a societal pressure of, in the stories and stuff like that of, how fun it is to be out on the club and finding the girls and all that one. And
Right.
I'm going home to my 5 kids and I got YMCA soccer on Saturday and they're staying out, drinking and
Yeah.
doing all this stuff. And I'm going home to make dinner and, and it's kind of like, so it's just this comparison game. And so I think for me, it was a fear early on.
Yeah.
And again, I'm thankful that I didn't ever act on it.
Yeah.
But I think, sitting with people and couples and divorced people and people thinking about getting married, I think there's a lot of fear over that.
Yeah. Mhm.
If I'm, it goes back to the fear of missing out. And then attachment wounds, right? Like I think I
Yeah.
say that because that's where it seems that statement comes from a lot of the times, but a lot of people don't recognize how their childhood affects their intimate relationships. And if there was some sort of attachment wound or some sort of early childhood thing that happened, that can manifest as fear of commitment and the jumping around and having multiple partners and being sexually promiscuous and all those things like that can come from those early childhood wounds. And so I think a lot of it plays into that commitment part and that worry about commitment, if that answered the question from my perspective.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
so. I think so because like a lot what you talk about, like especially in your situation, like yeah, you talk about your boy, all your boys are at the club and they're talking about what they're about to go do, and you're going home to 2 kids a turkey pot pie. You're like, oh fuck,
Mhm.
this is fucking, this is dumb, like crying babies and shit. You're just like, yeah, I'm about to sit down and have my dinner, and they're like, yeah, we're at the
Mhm.
club, turn up, second bottle in,
Mhm.
woo, let's go, and you're like,
Mhm.
ah,
Yeah.
fuck.
Or
It is, it's
traveling, getting to travel, and they're getting to go someplace cool, and I'm, trying to figure out how we're gonna make the food stamps last because
right. They're like,
we
Exactly.
got all the
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah, like going spring break in Cancun, and you're like, I'm
Uh-huh.
buying Pampers.
Right, yeah, I'm at the house. I got $3 in the bank account and $100 in food stamps to last us for
Yeah.
15 days.
You got
Like,
$10 in the bank account, and you got 2 diapers left. You're like,
right,
fuck,
yeah,
Yeah.
what am I gonna
like,
do?
yeah. So I think all that plays into that,
Yeah.
100%.
Um, so thinking, coming back to that curiosity, normalizing it, and I want to come to on the other side of that of acting out versus integrating it, right? So if a married man is sitting here listening, or somebody who's in a committed relationship is sitting here listening, what There's a few different questions that hit me all at once. What do men think? Why was it? What or why? One of those two. What do men think exploring will give them?
I think they're looking to satisfy the curiosity, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
And what does
you,
that benefit to satisfy? Like, what do we think that we're going to get if we satisfy that curiosity?
well, then you won't think about it anymore. Like
Mm.
if I'm stuck on one thing and I'm
Mhm.
really just really thinking about it, if I'm thinking of, because I'll be honest, social media is rough. Like I see why
Mhm.
there's a lot of joining Facebook accounts because you'd be sitting there and fucking Tanya from senior year homeroom gets in your DMs like, oh my god, you look so good, everything's good. Oh yeah,
Mm, yep.
I was so crush on you, girl. And you're like,
Mhm.
oh, I thought you were cute too. And it's like, fuck, here we go. And so you start thinking about it, like, wow, I never got to knock her down back then, but maybe it's good now. And then you start thinking, and you obsess about it to a point. And then if that's all you can think about, like getting the curiosity met to figure out if that's really what it is or not, like that's what it boils down to. Like you satisfy the curiosity
Yeah.
to see if that's better than if it's as good as what you hyped it up to be, or if it's really worth
Yeah.
switching out from everything you have now. Like everybody wants to scratch that itch in one way or another. That's what the curiosity, the unhealthy curiosity side. The healthy curiosity side is, you know, there are a couple of girlfriends that I had in the past that I thought were going to be it. I thought they were going to be the one. Like I had full intentions of marrying both of them different times, not at the same time. We don't live in Utah, but no, but that I really thought were going to be the ones forever. And I do think back every now and then. I'll be like, what would my life have looked like now had I done either one of those things? Had
Mhm.
I got with either one, had things have been different. That's a different kind of curiosity. You think back and go, "How would it be like?" And then you kind of snap back and go, "Ah, well, it didn't." But that's what's up. And it's just different. There's different levels of the curiosity as to how far you're going to go to scratch that itch.
Yeah. Yeah, nah, I mean, for me, I think it's just, it's almost like a sense of fulfillment.
Mhm.
It's like you kinda get a sense of fulfillment out of it. Um, I've completed this task, now I'm on to the next, or, I've completed this level. It's like I think of it almost, and this I don't know, this might be a good illustration, might be a bad one, but I almost think of it as like, you remember back in the day, man, you know how the old PlayStation had a memory card, and you would
Mhm.
save the game to the memory card every
Mhm.
time you pass a level, because
Mhm.
if you pass that level and you didn't save it and you turn that game off, it was, what I'm saying,
You
it
got
was
to start
lost.
all over
Mhm.
again.
Right? You got to start all over again. You got to start back from,
Mhm.
you know. And so I would almost consider it to be like the same situation in a sense with that. Is like, this is a sense of fulfillment.
Yeah.
I've passed this level, I've completed this level, and now I go to the next level of whatever it is, you know. And I almost wonder if, like, not saying video games are the problem or anything, but we almost have like that mentality of like, all right, I gotta
Mhm.
pass this level, save it to the car, and then conquer the next level.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, both of those, I appreciate both of those answers because they feed into another question that I had of why does acting on desire often not deliver what it promises?
Oh man, that's a good question. And I would answer that by saying, because often desire is, desires are they come up without knowledge. They come up based on what we perceive, what perception is, right? And the thing is that perception is not always reality,
Mhm.
right? So like these desires will pop up based upon maybe a lack of knowledge on something, a lack of understanding on something, and instead of having our perception on something, we need to shift our perspective on it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we can be our biggest hype man and salesperson to anything that we want. We will make it
Hmm.
out to be the eighth wonder of the world. We will make it out to
Mhm.
be just the best, the brightest, the shiniest, the new, the tightest, the wettest, the whatever you want to call it, however you want to categorize it. We will make it out to be the pinnacle, the peak of the best that could possibly be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then it's like when you haven't had something for a very long time. Like if you haven't had McDonald's in 10, 20 years and you think, man, that one burger was so good. All the time, man, I remember the first bite I ever took of the Big Mac. It was the best shit I ever had. Or like the McRib when it
Hmm.
comes back around, and people are like, oh, the McRib is back. And you're like, oh man, you get it. You're like, this is fake ass meat. And that's exactly what
Mhm.
Oh
happens. Like
man.
you romanticize things in your mind to be a certain
Mm,
way,
it is.
and then when you get a
Yeah.
hold of it, you're like, oh, well, I mean,
Mhm.
I guess it was okay. It was okay. Like it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but it was all right. Like it wasn't.
Mhm.
Right.
And it's just like that. Our minds are so damn powerful to make us think and believe
Yeah.
that things are going to be one way, and then you're like, oh, well, shit.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's yeah. Our minds are powerful. I think that right there, it makes you idealize something because you don't have the information.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have like, I think about this all the time. This is funny, but as a girl dad, I think about how idealized I used to look at girls when I was a teenager before getting with my wife and how, you know, I just thought them good girls walked on water and they never farted. They never did anything nasty.
You,
Boy,
hey,
being a girl dad, these girls, boy, they
you're
some,
like, "Ugh."
Something
ugh,
else.
they
Something else.
Only
something
two
else,
things you
bro.
need to do is you need to go walk into a teenage girl's room that's not ready for you to be there, or
Uh-huh,
clean a female's bathroom, and that's
uh-huh,
fucking it. You're
uh-huh,
the whole veil will come down. That's
uh-huh.
that Wizard of Oz type. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain shit, because once that curtain gets
Yep.
pulled back, you're like,
Mhm. Yep.
Man.
Yeah, and so that's a way that your mind, boy, it'll create something in your mind that is an idealization or a thought and make you fantasize about it, and it's because you don't have all the information. You do
all the
not
Exactly.
have all the
time
information
on purpose. They
on
want it to
purpose.
be that way.
Right,
Because
right,
if you know,
Yep.
right. Yeah, if you knew,
you'd be like,
uh
oh, never mind. It's all
right.
right.
That's why I'd be like, "Bro, if I had known it was like this, I
I would have
if
spent
I had
one less
known
time
that,
chasing
I
it.
would have spent way less time worrying about what I look like and all the different stuff like that. Because
Be like, bitch, I know
uh,
what
Right.
your room looks like.
right, I know you fart girl, what's up?" Like
I know your toilet got streaks in it. Don't play with
right.
me.
Right.
You
Don't
know what
play
I'm
with
saying?
me.
Right, right.
Hey, here go a
Anyway,
fresh can of
anyway.
Febreze, baby. You know?
Right, right, right. Uh, anyway, so to close the convo, I know we went a little long today, but to close the convo out, I think talking about owning our story without blowing up our life is
Yeah.
important, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so how do men grieve paths they didn't take without resenting the one they're on? I think that was a question that popped up that
Yeah.
for me, there was a moment in time where I think I resented the path I was on. And it was because I didn't have conversations like this. And there was nobody around to normalize what I was going through. There was nobody that I could talk about the struggle I was having internally, that battle internally that I was going through. And so I think my answer to this question, but I want to know y'all's, is try to find people you can have conversations with. Like
Yeah.
grief becomes so much bigger when you don't talk about it. When you try to suppress it, hide from it, keep it down, you know, uh, don't experience it. When you try to run from it, it becomes so much stronger, and it hits you like an ocean wave, and it'll take you out, right? And so, how do we grieve the paths we didn't take without resenting the one we're on? I think is allowing yourself to talk about it and maybe grieve it and what it could have been or what you think it could have been, the what ifs, and then allow that way that gets out of you, and then you have more space to be able to appreciate the path you are on. I don't know, thoughts, feelings.
Yeah. I think for me, is, you know, I can't look at, yeah, I've had to learn not to look at what I perceived as a loss.
Mm,
Um, and what I had to start doing was focusing on everything I'm gaining, you know, focusing on everything I'm gaining by choosing to be to and I think that that's just a part of, like, you have to be present in on the path you're on. I can't leave
mm,
room for what if when it comes to that. Like, what if has its place in certain situations, right? But in that type of a situation, I can't sit here and live in the land of make believe and live in the land of what if, right?
mm,
Because at that point, the moment that I do that, I create a false reality that keeps me from appreciating the actual reality that I live in. I can't sit here and you know wish that I would have turned right on that street 2 blocks back because that's where everything would have went right for me. I can't do that. Um, because then at that point, I'll never appreciate the journey I'm on, and I won't appreciate the ones who chose to stay walking with me on this journey.
Honestly, I think it comes with having real, raw, honest conversations with yourself. Because
Mhm,
are you really, like I just said, are you really appreciating what you're doing right now, what you have right now? Or are you just worried about, because thinking about things that you can't change or can't go back and redo only distract you from what you're doing right now. Like if you put as much
mhm,
time and effort into what you have right now versus what you think got away, would you be happier in what's going on right now? Would everything be better? Would you have a better understanding or a better relationship with the person that you're with now? Because you have a couple of options. Like you can go back and try something else. You can go back and try to walk that other path that you think you missed out on. But are you giving up something that's potentially better than what you could have gone back and tried to do? But
mhm,
at the same time, like it's not for this isn't just a linear conversation for every single person. It's not a one size fits all. Like there are people
mhm,
that legitimately probably need to look at their situation and think, is
mhm,
this the best situation for me? Maybe not. Try something different. Like that, those are legitimately out there.
Mhm.
But there are a big faction of those people that may think that it's that way, but it doesn't have to be that way. If you take time to sit back and have a real, raw, honest conversation with yourself or somebody else, because I guarantee you, you may think you may have a friend, a homeboy right now, a coworker, somebody that was married and is not married anymore that thought they were going to go out there and live the best life. Talk to them, ask them,
Mhm.
because I
Mhm.
promise you, they're going to tell you everybody that's left somebody, unless it was an absolutely horrible situation, has some form of regret for leaving that person and trying to strike it out on their own and do something different.
Mhm.
I don't know one person, even so my father and my mother were divorced longer than they were married together. My dad got with my stepmom, had a whole thing. Like they were married longer than my parents were married. But my father went to his grave regretting leaving my mother and me and my brother. Like it was a thing. Like no matter what you build on the other side of those relationships, there's going to be a level of regret for something that you didn't
mhm,
do,
Mhm.
that you could have put more time into, you could have put more effort into. If you spend just a little bit of time really pushing to see if it's for you. It may look different for you. It may look like marriage counseling. It may look like just sitting down and having a conversation. It may be a mindset shift. There are things you can do to better the situation you're in right now. Give it some time. And if it doesn't better, then you can look at other options. But if you know that you fully put all of your effort into it and it's still not working, that's when you take time to submit. But you start early and start looking at other shit, start going, oh, maybe I wonder what's going on over there. Is it a little better over there? Like
mhm.
you're going to create reasons for you to have doubt in what you're in right now.
I think asking yourself the what ifs and facing the possibilities of what could have been, I think can lead you to a place of appreciating what you have versus the other. And if you go to a place where you start resenting what you have because you're doing that, I think that there's something within that that needs to be processed. So, like a lot of times people don't want to ask questions, the what ifs or sit in these emotions because they're afraid of what the answer is. But if I
Mhm,
go there and I answer the question, what if? Like I'm
yeah,
again, I asked myself this question before, and I've finally got to a place where I've become okay with it. But what if I hadn't stayed with my wife? What if I would have just focused on basketball? Yeah, we had our first kid. Elisha was born, but we didn't get married. I focused on basketball. I went and played D1. Or what if I would have played D1? Not even if we was what if we would have stayed together and I would have went and played D1? Because I had a couple offers, D1 offers. Bro,
mhm,
there was no way in God's green earth that we would have still been together. Because you talking about D1 athlete, you talking about girls and D1 athlete, bro, there was no way. And my wife wasn't moving, so it wasn't like she was gonna be there with me. You know what I'm saying? What if I
mhm,
would have went overseas? Right? Like, because there was opportunities to do that. My wife wasn't going overseas. She's like, you can go. I'm not going without you, right? But what
right,
if? Like, and so I started thinking about, man, there could have been money, there could have been this, there could have been that. But I wouldn't have had my son. I wouldn't have had my 3 other daughters. I wouldn't have my 2 other sons. I wouldn't have had the life I have now. And so there was this way in asking these questions and exploring the what ifs and processing those things that it brought me back to this place of I can appreciate fully as full as possible right now because I'm still asking questions about things, but I can appreciate fully more
Yeah.
of my life now and what I have because I face those questions instead of just ignoring them and trying not to answer them and not trying not to get stuck in the past. Um, I asked and answered those questions, and I can appreciate my life now more than what I could have before. I got out of that resentment by asking those questions.
Mhm.
If all that made sense. Hopefully that made sense.
It did. No, it did. It definitely does. And I think that's the
Yeah.
thing too. Like, I think one thing on it is, even with me saying, don't like I don't allow myself to live in that land of what if. Like, I think it's just important to like take time. You got to grieve those things.
Mhm.
You
Sure.
just you have to move on. You have to
Right,
accept because you can't appreciate reality until you accept it,
right,
right?
Right.
right.
Like,
But you have to grieve
that's
it
what I
though.
think.
You
But you
have to
gotta
Yeah.
grieve it.
allow that
Yes, you do.
emotion to
You
come.
gotta
Yeah.
allow the emotion to go through,
Yeah.
and you
Right.
have to go through it. But it's like, I think for me, what I mean to say is don't sit in the emotion.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Don't stay
understand it,
stuck there.
grieve it.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't stay stuck in it. Like,
yeah.
understand it, grieve it, and say, you know what? Okay, that's what it was. But we're here now.
Right.
The
Right.
choices that I've made have led me here. And you know what? And because I mean, I'm the same way. It's like, I mean, I did. I had a moment where a piece of advice that I had got was basically whenever we went through premarital counseling, a piece of advice that we had got was to grieve past relationships for a day. Like,
Yeah.
just
Mm,
take a day and grieve your past relationships. And I did. I was like, okay, I was like, and I went, damn, like, okay, there's a few over there that I was like, oh, okay. We were actually, a few that were kind of serious.
Sure.
And it was like, I grieved the past relationships for a day. I took that advice. And I remember the very next day, I was like, man, I cannot wait to marry this girl.
mhm.
And it's like, and I know I wouldn't be on the trajectory I am now, had I chose something different. But it was. I allowed myself to grieve with it. But like yeah, that's the better way of saying it. Like, I just didn't say stuck in it.
Right,
Right.
right, right. That's
Mhm.
the key. I think people get stuck there.
Yeah.
They get stuck in the grief. Yeah.
Right. And then that just still keeps some resentment. But I think if you allow yourself to feel it and process it and understand it, you then
Right.
have the information to move forward and make it and embrace what you have now because you've got that out of your
Yeah.
internal emotional capacity. You've emptied that out. And so now there's capacity to appreciate what you have now.
Or they
Right.
don't take
Because
time to grieve it at all. They just move to the next one,
yeah,
and it's the next
Right.
one,
it
and now
just
you're
moves to
in
the
this
next
one. You
one.
hadn't even thought about the last one, so you had no
Right.
time to properly process and grieve and do all those things and
Mhm.
realize what is for you now. Didn't serve you then, and what all those types of things.
Right.
That's a whole other podcast episode right there, Jason.
Right.
Whole different episode.
Uh-huh.
That's a whole other hour right there.
Right, right. Man, there's some different topics on my mind since we've been talking about this one tonight that I'm like, "Oh, we gotta
Mhm.
come up with that one." So, real quick, last question. If what would you say to a man quietly wrestling with this question right now? Should I get it out of my system before saying I do? And he's quietly wrestling with that, what would you say to him?
Yeah, man, I would say to him, "What's the reward? What's the
Yeah.
ROI?
Yeah.
Is there a ROI on what you're about to invest if you decide to get it out your system before you say I do?
Mm,
Is there
okay,
is
yeah.
there a return on it? Is there a reward on it? 5 years from now, are you gonna wake up and be like, I can't believe I did that?"
Mm,
Like, I
mhm,
think it's just you gotta ask yourself those types of questions and sit with the answers.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I'd
good.
ask, yeah, two simple questions for me. I would have them list out the reasons as to why they want to get married to the person that they. Why do you think the person that you found is the one? What makes you what
Mhm.
drives you to the point that makes you think that this person is the one? And then like AJ said, like what's the return? What are you gonna gain from going out there and claiming all these bodies if if you feel the way that you feel, if you have all this data to back up why you want to marry this person, why do you feel like you need to find other things before you're able to settle down with that one person?
Yeah.
And it I think that it's a good way to get somebody to think about it in different terms.
Mhm.
Because when you look at it that way versus just the societal pressures of the conquest, it
Mhm.
just puts it in a different light.
Yeah. Yeah, both of those, and find you a group of, whether it be 1, 2, 3 of guys that are sound in mind and talk to them about it. Bring it out of the quiet, bring it out of the dark, bring it out of the inside and bring it out and talk about it and work through it with them. Tell them what you're feeling, what you're struggling with. Um, so this conversation isn't about telling anyone what to do. Again, we're not telling you
No,
what to do with your life. It's just about telling the truth about what men actually wrestle with, right? Curiosity doesn't have to become destruction, and pretending the question doesn't exist usually causes more damage than facing it honestly. So face it honestly, bring it out, talk about it, be curious about the curiosity, right? And there's usually freedom on the other side of that if you allow yourself to actually talk about it. Well, make sure you're following us at the MAJO Podcast, the MAJO Podcast on all social medias. Follow us, hit subscribe on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, so you don't miss what's coming next. And for clips and behind the scenes and all the things on socials. So next week, got another real raw, unfiltered conversation coming your way. We'll see y'all Wednesday.
All right, y'all take it easy.
easy, man.